All right, strap yourselves in because today we are diving deep into a case so strange.
It's going to make the Bermuda Triangle look like a kiddie pool.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about a
A
mystery.
real head scratcher.
The theft of Earth's polar ice?
Can you believe that?
I know, right? You guys have sent in some incredible detective reports.
Really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, and we're going to be looking specifically at episode 5, The Great Ice Heist.
From the Lizard Leaks.
Yeah.
A Brick Hard Cheese investigation series.
Exactly.
For those who haven't had the pleasure.
Yeah, Lizard Leaks is this detective series set in a world where lizard people are real.
And they're leaking government secrets.
Yeah, it's wild. And in this episode,
We meet our main man, Brick Hard Cheese.
this hard-boiled private eye,
Finds himself right in the thick of it, a case involving disappearing ice caps.
a frantic scientist,
And, wait for it,
aliens throwing cocktail parties on the moon.
of all things.
I know, it's crazy, right? But what I think is so interesting is
It really blends this outlandish concept with some very real anxieties about resource exploitation.
totally
We're talking about the Arctic here.
a region that's already dealing with the effects of climate change.
And it becomes this backdrop for this impossible heist.
Yeah, so set the scene for us.
What's it like when Brick first arrives in the Arctic?
Yeah, paint us a picture.
Okay, so picture this. Vast, desolate landscape of the Arctic tundra.
Okay.
The wind is whipping across these icy plains.
Brr.
Brick Hard Cheese arrives, bundled up, against the chill,
Yeah.
investigating reports of shrinking ice caps.
Right. Which initially just seems like another sad story of climate change.
Yeah, which of course is a very real and pressing issue, as we all know.
Absolutely.
But in this case, there's a twist.
The ice isn't just melting,
It's being stolen.
like straight up vanishing.
We're talking perfectly cut sections of ice, gone without a trace.
I mean, how is that even possible? It's as if someone took a giant cookie cutter to the ice sheet.
That's what they're saying, leaving behind these smooth circular craters.
I mean, scientifically speaking, what would the implications of something like that even be?
Oh, the ramifications would be huge, absolutely massive.
What are we talking
I
about?
mean, potentially disrupting ocean currents, changes in sea level, and significant impacts on ecosystems.
Wow.
The balance of Earth's systems relies heavily on these polar regions.
Right.
Removing that much ice would definitely have a ripple effect.
Yeah. That's some serious stuff to think about.
It really is.
Okay, but the real question is, who or what is behind this ice heist?
Well, according to the reports, it's aliens.
Aliens.
And they're using the ice for their lunar cocktail parties.
You're kidding me, right?
I'm dead serious. Aliens throwing cocktail parties on the moon.
This is like something out of a sci-fi movie.
I know, right? But it actually raises a really interesting question about how different cultures, even extraterrestrial ones, might value resources.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What we might see as ordinary, they might consider precious.
So walk us through how they figure this out.
Okay, so we have Dr. Penelope Frost.
Who is she?
She's this brilliant glaciologist,
Okay.
a little frazzled, but brilliant.
Understandably.
I mean, she's dealing with alien ice thieves.
That'll do it.
So she brings this case to Brick.
Okay.
She shows him satellite images of the missing ice, and then, get this, intercepted radio transmissions
From where?
from the moon.
The moon. No way. So they're just casually chatting about stealing our ice.
Apparently, these aliens aren't exactly masters of stealth.
I mean, come on. Aliens, cocktails on the moon. What was Brick's reaction to all of this?
Initially,
Yeah,
healthy dose of skepticism.
of course.
I mean, who wouldn't be? Aliens stealing ice for cocktails.
Sounds pretty far-fetched.
Exactly. But the evidence is pretty compelling,
I guess so.
especially when Dr. Frost starts talking about these unique isotopes found in polar ice.
Okay, hold on. Back up a second.
Sure.
What makes polar ice so special?
It's like a time capsule.
What do you mean?
It traps these air bubbles and isotopes that give us a glimpse into Earth's past climate.
Interesting.
These isotopes, like deuterium and oxygen-18,
Right.
they have slightly different properties than regular water.
So, could there be a real-world reason why aliens, or anyone, would want to steal this ice?
It's possible.
I mean, could they really be onto something? Does Earth ice actually make a better Cosmo?
Maybe.
That's wild.
The story doesn't really go into the specifics of alien mixology.
I guess that's for another deep dive.
Right. But it does highlight how something we might take for granted could be incredibly valuable to another species.
That's true.
What we see is just frozen water. They might see as liquid gold.
So, what happens next? How does Brick, Mr. Skeptic Detective, end up on the trail of these cocktail-loving aliens?
Well, he finds himself at this abandoned Arctic research station,
Right.
checking out the site where the ice vanished.
Right.
And he finds those smooth, circular craters we talked about.
Like giant cookie cutters.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then there are these strange tracks.
Good.
Yeah, and definitely not from any earthly vehicle.
Spooky.
I know, right? And eventually, he stumbles upon this hidden hangar.
Hidden hangar. What's in it?
You guessed it,
Don't tell me.
a giant UFO.
A UFO? Really? What's going on inside?
It's like a scene from a movie.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Aliens loading up these huge blocks of ice onto conveyor belts
Where are they taking it?
to the moon for their lunar soiree.
Crazy. And then Brick even overhears one of the aliens complaining about the ice melting before it reaches the moon.
It's hilarious, actually.
Well, they-
Something like, it's so embarrassing to serve lukewarm cosmos.
Oh no, the horror
Right. I mean, it's a funny detail, but it also highlights this logistical challenge.
of transporting and storing all this ice on the moon.
Exactly. Which, honestly, with our current understanding of physics, it's pretty mind-blowing.
I mean, keeping all that ice frozen during space travel, that's got to require insane amounts of energy.
Absolutely.
Not to mention landing all that weight on the moon.
That's not something we can do easily right now.
Right, so the technology they're using is way beyond anything we have.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess that's part of what makes science fiction so fun, right? Exploring those possibilities.
Totally. It stretches our imaginations and makes us think about what might be out there.
So they've got the ice, they've got the spaceship, next stop, the moon.
You got it. And that's where things get really interesting.
Oh, I bet. We're talking a lunar nightclub, a daring heist, and a whole lot of melted ice.
But we'll have to save that for after the break.
Stay tuned, folks, because this deep dive is just getting started.
You won't want to miss this. Now, getting to the moon is one thing,
Right.
but infiltrating an alien nightclub, that's a whole other level.
Talk about a challenge. So
Yeah.
how do Brick and Dr. Frost even manage to pull that off?
Well, that's where Dr. Frost's scientific expertise comes in handy.
Makes sense.
They hijack a small alien transport ship.
Wait, what?
Yeah, and just like that, they're on their way to the moon.
Hold on. Hijack an alien spaceship. That's got to be a little more complicated than hot wiring a car.
Oh, for sure. It definitely pushes the limits of believability.
Yeah, a little bit.
But it shows how resourceful Dr. Frost is.
Right.
You know, her ability to think on her feet and adapt to these crazy situations.
I guess when you're dealing with aliens stealing ice for cocktails, anything's possible.
Exactly.
But it does make you wonder, what kind of universal translator are they using? How did they figure out this alien tech?
Yeah, it's one of those things you kind of have to suspend your disbelief for.
I just go with it.
Like, oh yeah, just borrowed a spaceship, no biggie.
So they make it to the moon. What's this alien nightclub like?
Okay, so imagine this.
I'm ready.
The stark gray landscape of the moon.
Okay, I got that.
And then, bam, this sleek, futuristic nightclub.
Wow, what a contrast.
It's like a scene straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Inside.
You got all these alien elites mingling, sipping cocktails,
Fancy.
and dancing to what describes as synth-heavy music.
Synth-heavy music. I'm trying to picture what alien music would even sound like.
Would it be anything like what we listen to?
Right. It's a fascinating thought.
Music is often considered this universal language.
Yeah.
But who knows what forms it takes in other cultures.
Especially extraterrestrial ones.
The story uses this detail to highlight the contrast between us and them.
Humans and aliens.
But it also suggests this shared desire for social interaction.
And maybe even artistic expression.
Exactly.
Okay, back to the heist.
Hmm.
They're in this alien nightclub surrounded by all these extraterrestrial partygoers. How do they find the stolen ice?
They discover this massive freezer.
A freezer.
Yeah, packed full of Earth's polar ice, just gleaming under these artificial lights.
It's crazy to think that even in this futuristic lunar setting, they're still reliant on something taken from our planet.
It really is.
It's like this advanced alien civilization capable of interstellar travel and building lunar nightclubs,
Right.
but they're still craving something as simple as ice from Earth.
It's almost poetic.
It really makes you question what truly holds value.
We often think about precious metals, energy sources, things like that.
Yeah.
But what if, to another species, the most desirable thing about Earth is something we completely take for granted?
Like the unique properties of our polar ice.
Exactly. It really challenges our perspective.
Makes you realize we're not the center of the universe.
Not at all.
So, what's the plan? How do they stop these aliens from turning Earth's polar regions into a giant cosmic ice bucket?
Their plan relies on this classic combo,
What's that?
brains and brawn.
I like it.
Dr. Frost, the tech whiz, is going to hack into the base's systems,
Okay.
while Brick creates a diversion.
Classic. So Dr. Frost uses her scientific knowledge to take down the aliens from the inside,
Right.
while Brick uses his fists to cause a little chaos.
It's the perfect pairing.
I love it.
The methodical scientist and the street-smart detective,
Working together.
using their unique skills to achieve a common goal.
Teamwork. So how does it all play out? Does their plan work?
It does,
That's great.
but not without a few bumps along the way.
What do you mean?
Dr. Frost manages to overload the freezer, causing a massive meltdown.
Oh.
But not before Brick finds himself in a full-blown brawl with some angry aliens.
A brawl? What happened?
He basically causes a scene, drawing attention away from Dr. Frost while she's doing her thing with the base's systems.
Clever.
Picture this. Brick, martini glass in hand,
Of course.
fending off these extraterrestrial bouncers,
I can see it now.
all while ice is melting all around them.
That's our Brick. Always ready for a good fight, even on the moon.
He's a true hero,
What about the aliens? I bet they weren't too thrilled about their cocktail party getting ruined.
to say the least.
What were their reactions?
Disbelief, outrage.
Understandably.
They're watching their precious Earth ice melt into lunar petals.
It's almost like poetic justice.
It is.
The aliens who came to exploit Earth's resources end up causing a flood on their own lunar base.
It's a pretty funny scene.
I bet.
But it also highlights the potential consequences of unchecked exploitation.
That's a good point. There are always consequences.
So they escape.
Another win for Brick Hard Cheese.
It seems so.
What happens after they escape the moon?
They make a clean getaway amid all the chaos,
I bet it was pretty wild.
leaving behind a flooded lunar nightclub
Oh, man.
and a bunch of very disappointed aliens.
I can't even imagine.
Back on Earth, though,
Yeah.
news reports are celebrating
What are they celebrating?
the sudden and totally inexplicable stabilization of the polar ice caps.
So they have no idea what actually happened.
No
You
clue.
must be so confused.
Totally baffled, but definitely relieved.
I bet.
Little do they know, a hard-boiled detective and a brilliant glaciologist just saved the planet.
From an intergalactic cocktail crisis.
It's ironic, isn't it?
Totally. It's funny how the world is completely oblivious to all the crazy things happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder what other secrets are out there.
Lurking just beyond our everyday perception.
Right, like what else don't we know about?
That's a classic trope in science fiction. This idea of unsung heroes working in the shadows, protecting humanity from threats we don't even know exist.
Like a secret society of alien fighters.
Something like that.
I love it.
But it also taps into this very real anxiety we have about our place in the cosmos.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Are we really alone?
That's the big question.
And if not, are we ready for what might be out there?
It's exciting and terrifying at the same time.
Definitely both.
So what about Brick? How's he dealing with all of this?
The story ends with him enjoying a well-deserved drink,
As he should.
dropping an ice cube into his glass.
But not just any ice cube.
No.
What kind of ice cube is it?
It sparkles faintly with this strange, otherworldly glow.
A glowing ice cube.
That's right.
That's a little creepy, don't you think?
It's definitely a bit ominous.
What do you think it means?
It suggests that maybe, just maybe, the story isn't really over.
Whoa!
What exactly did those aliens do to that ice?
Yeah, good question.
Could there be some unforeseen consequences?
Like what?
We don't know, and that's what's so unsettling.
It's like the calm before the storm.
Exactly.
Earth might be safe for now, but those martini-loving aliens are still out there somewhere.
Lurking in the shadows.
Makes you wonder what they'll do next.
It does, doesn't it?
So what does this all mean for you, dear listener?
Yeah. What would you do?
If you were Brick Hard Cheese, what would you do next? Would you try to warn the world about this potential alien threat?
Tough choice.
Or would you just enjoy your drink knowing that somewhere out there, aliens are probably still craving a good Earth ice cocktail?
Whatever you choose, remember this.
What's that?
The universe is a vast and mysterious place,
It really is.
full of wonders and dangers we can only begin to imagine.
That's the beauty of it, I guess.
And sometimes, the most important discoveries come disguised as the most outlandish tales.
Like alien cocktail parties on the moon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, and maybe, just maybe, keep an eye out for those glowing ice cubes.
That's great advice. Well, folks, that's it for our deep dive into the Great Ice Heist.
Been a wild ride.
Definitely. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep those detective reports coming.
We'll be waiting.